Welcome back, everyone. This is Mindy Eggen, and today's video I'm sharing inspiration using the Make Yourself at Home kit by Hero Arts that is found exclusively at Joann.com. You get a nice assortment of products bundled together to create these fall-themed cards. Here's a quick look at the bundle that you'd be receiving, and then I'm also going to walk you through the products. So in this kit, you are receiving the Autumn Messages stamp set. So this is great for any autumn or fall themed card, whether it's Halloween, Thanksgiving. You have some grateful sentiments as well. Then there is the Autumn Bouquet Fancy Die, and this has some different foliage, leaves, sunflowers, even a little bow that you could add if you wanted to die cut that out. And then there is the Fall Leaves Stencil, which is great for creating backgrounds. We also have a variety of cardstock in the kit as well. So there's some orange, some nice fall green, yellow, and then there's also some brown glitter paper. Included also is some brown hemp twine. Now this is one long string and it just has a variety of different shades of brown on it as you stretch it out. There are some mini ink cubes in the colors of caramel, butter bar, and moss, and then you also have some gold hero pearls. I will be using my large ink pads that I have in my collection today. The first thing I like to do is take my dies and die cut them from white cardstock. This is the deluxe white cardstock from Hero Arts. You can also die cut these from colored cardstock, but I always like to start with white and then add my own color and just vary in shades to create dimension and contrast. For my flowers, which I have two of them here that I'm going to add color to, I'm using the butter bar ink and just adding that color with a blending brush. Then I have a leaf here that I'm also going to add some of that yellow to. And then I'm going to use moss for this stem and the leaves. There's a couple smaller leaves that look like they would go with the flowers that I'm going to also add that moss to. And I'm working on a silicone surface which helps hold my small die cuts in place so I can add that color. Now I wanted to bump up the contrast, make these look a little bit more realistic looking. So I'm grabbing my caramel ink and a mini blending brush and I'm starting in the center and I'm going to work that color out. That just really kind of steps up our die cuts and our ink blending a little bit. So I added it to the center of this flower, and then I'm going to add it to just some of the tips on my other flower. And because a lot of the leaves that I see are not really one color, I'm adding some of that brown to my fall leaves. Now I'm pretty much using all of the die cuts except that one smaller flower that you can see up at the top of my screen, but otherwise I'm using all of the die cuts today. So here's a look at all of my ink blended die cuts, which make such a beautiful fall color arrangement. For my cards today, I decided to do a lot of stripes. So I'm going to take my cardstock from each color and I'm going to cut them into 1/4 inch strips. So I did cut quite a few of them just so I have enough to build up a background using it from the yellow, orange, and the green. I'm taking a piece of white cardstock that is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I am going to start adding some tape runner behind each of these strips. I'm going to create a pattern going up my card. I started at the bottom just to make sure I'm getting everything lined up straight, and I'm going to have it in the pattern of yellow, orange, and green. Now you could also use liquid glue. Any type of adhesive you have would work for this. Once I built up that pattern one more time, I'm going to take this over to my paper trimmer and just trim that off. I'm also going to trim off the sides, so this piece is going to measure about 4 inches long. I'm going to add tape runner again behind this piece and attach it to a piece of cardstock that I have cut to 4 by 5 1/4. Now before I build up too much dimension on the front of the card, I'm going to take this over to my stamping tool and I'm picking off a sentiment that's from the Autumn Messages stamp set. I'm inking that up in intense black ink and stamping that down towards the bottom of my card. Then I'll take tape runner, add it behind that panel, and attach it to a card panel that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so I'm leaving just a little bit of a white border around that. I have liquid glue that I'm taking this stem that I had ink blended and adding it to just a strip of white cardstock. And for the top of this, I'm taking that large sunflower image and I'm going to add some thin foam squares behind that so that it pops it up just a little bit. I'm going to add this piece over my strips of cardstock, but I want it to be flush. So instead of adding it directly over or using foam tape, I took some scraps of cardstock and I added some to the bottom and to the top, and I have it layered about 2 times with this scrap of cardstock, and that's going to make it flush. So now I can add my tape runner, or if you're using liquid glue, and add it to the front right over those stripes. So everything is going to be nice and even. So that is card number 1 that I have for you today. For my second card, I'm also going to be using strips of cardstock, but this time I'm using a panel that is 5.5 by 8.5. So I have these really long strips of cardstock. Once again, they're cut to about 1/4 of an inch. This time I'm adding the tape runner to the back and I'm going diagonally across my card. So this is a great way to use that colored cardstock in the kit, or if you have scraps of cardstock, you can add that here as well. There's also that glitter paper that you could add in between your pattern. So I have green, orange, yellow, and I'm going to continue that pattern, but you could also add in that pop of glitter as well. I'm working that pattern up the cardstock, just trying to make sure that each corner looks about even. And then I'm going to take that over to my paper trimmer to trim off the excess. You could also just cut that off with a pair of scissors. Now, because I used a tape runner, the front is kind of gummy a little bit from that adhesive sticking up. So I took an adhesive eraser and just went over that area so that it's nice and clean. I have another small little panel of cardstock that I trimmed down and I'm stamping a sentiment on. I'm going to stamp it twice, which is why I like using a stamp positioning tool, because if our stamps are not conditioned well, they might not stamp great the first time. So stamping it twice really helps. I added foam tape to the back to pop that up on the front of my card. And now with the rest of that foliage that I have, I'm just building up a little small arrangement. So I added dabs of glue behind each of the foliage pieces and added that behind that flower. Then I can take that liquid glue, add it to the back, and adhere that to the front of that panel. I have 2 more leaves left over, so whether I need to add them on the top or tuck them underneath. Then for a finishing touch, I have the gold hero pearls, and I'm adding that right to the ends of that piece of foliage that's sticking out. So there are 2 card projects for you today featuring the Make Yourself at Home kit by Hero Arts, exclusively sold at Joann.com. And there's also more inspiration over there if you follow the link to check that out. I will have that link down below in the video description, and I will also have a blog post featuring these cards if you wanted to head over there and save them for future reference. Thanks so much for spending time with me today, and I'll see you again real soon. Here are a few more videos I think you might enjoy.